So you just finished Elden Ring. Congratulations. You are a lowly tarnished of no renown, and you rightfully claimed your title as Elden Lord. Now what? Well, you can finally end your suffering and spend time with your loved ones that you've neglected for so long, or if you're left wanting more, like the masochistic that you are, you can embark on a new adventure, either as a lowly tarnished once again, or as the god that you became. New save versus NG+. That is the question. Now, before this video gets downvoted all the way down to the fucking deep root depths, I am not implying NG+ isn't fun or viable or that people shouldn't do it. Shit, I personally have an NG character and I have multiple new save characters. And honestly, if you really love the game, it's best to enjoy everything it has to offer because both game modes honestly do provide their own uniqueness and have their own identity. So my decision on which game mode I wanted to play came shortly after beating the DLC. And if I can be honest, the DLC's ending was sort of anticlimactic for me. It almost felt like edging, but without getting the final release. Spoiler alert, it was a fucking memory. And I play games to forget, not to remember. But I'm going on a tangent here. The entire package that was presented in Elden Ring is, of course, nothing short of a masterpiece. And it made me want to decide to play again. But I soon quickly determined that NG+ simply wasn't for me, or at least the game mode that I personally preferred. So for those who find themselves in similar situations and are curious what they may enjoy, let me shed some light on my own personal experiences and why for me personally, if I only had time to play the game one more time, why I would do a brand new save. So for those that don't know, NG+ allows you to restart the campaign and it resets the game world as if you started the game from scratch. However, you're allowed to keep and bring over various things like your level, your runes, your weapons, your talismans, your armor, your spells, your incantations, any non-quest related items, materials, spirit ashes, ashes of war, even gestures. And as of patch 1.05, you can even bring over the bell bearings as long as they're already submitted to the Twin Maiden husks. It's fun, right? And don't get me wrong, it just wasn't the game mode that made me or that drew me in for another 100 hours. So who's NG+ for? It's for those who wish to tinker with their builds and reach a rune level that allows them to role play and become a literal god from the very beginning. It's for those who don't give a fuck about what the meta is and what rune level is appropriate, and they just want to wield every goddamn weapon and spell that there is. And for that, I salute you. It's for those who want a revenge run and to completely punish and obliterate those who have caused you so much pain and suffering in the past. It's for content creators or those who are generally interested in testing out different builds, such as power stancing with items that you can only get once per playthrough. It's for those who picked up an item that's only available late in the game and you really want to actually use that item on some of the earlier bosses in order to enjoy it. It's for those with OCD and item collectors that wish to have every single item in the game that may have missed it on their first run or were gated from getting it because of certain decisions that were made in certain quest lines. It's also for those that are extremely fucking psychopathic and that want to challenge themselves over and over through increased difficulties. And the game does really start to get fucking brutal once you reach around NG+4 or so. NG+ offers a lot for a lot of different people, right? Depending on what you're looking for and what you're hoping to get out of a new playthrough. But what the game does turn into is simply a boss rush. And fuck, I mean, that's still really fun, don't get me wrong. Only the novelty of 2 or 3 shotting bosses wore off quickly for me, because it voided the game from any exploration, progression, and difficulty. I truly wish From Software would have just implemented a boss rush mode similar to how Hollow Knight functioned, where you could just simply access all the bosses within the round table that allows you to challenge them over and over again, and perhaps even incorporate new mechanics or levels of difficulty. For me, NG Plus just trivializes much of what makes Elden Ring Elden Ring. For me, the sense of progression and exploration of the open world and the sense of discovery and the difficulty curve is unmatched in a new playthrough. It's how the game was meant to be played, whereas NG Plus sort of feels like an arcade experience. If you're looking for a sense of progression in NG Plus, you won't find it here. You already have the items, you already have the runes and the levels. You have very little incentive to actually explore and interact with the game world, right? And its mechanics. In a new save, every little fucking glow you see on the ground just seems meaningful or more impactful to your sense of progression. Even down to the most mundane items used for crafting that obviously late spells in the game and their buffs often trivialize, got it, the need to even use them. So it makes you feel like you need to prepare for every encounter, right? A little more thoughtfully than just running in and spamming your weapon skills. That's probably the worst thing for me in NG+. It completely neglects your need to explore. Why undergo any of the caves or do any of the secrets if you already have the talismans and ashes of war, right? It's a similar feeling to how many people felt in the DLC, where the rewards for their exploration was just ended up being fucking smithing stones. Right? And for someone who's beaten the game already, that's far max weapons, it's just not enough incentive. And the world of Elden Ring is what it makes Elden Ring what it truly is. Being able to go at a slow pace and appreciate all the little secrets. Because there are so goddamn many items, unless you're researching for shit online, you will have very little fucking clue where things were found in the first place. So NG Plus just simply removed the wonder for me, if that makes any sense. There honestly feels nothing better than to roleplay a tarnished of no renown and slowly achieve the power to slay a god. Like, from a narrative sense, the entire game is focused on that. So NG Plus also ruined that roleplay aspect for me, because I woke up in a puddle of my own urine at the start of the game wearing gold shiny armor reserved for a fucking god. Something a god would wear. So if you enjoy role-playing that aspect of the game of a god sent from an outer land to cleanse the suffering of the lands between, NG Plus may be for you, but it just doesn't deter the fact that NG Plus just kind of feels rushed. You don't really get to appreciate the story as much, and not to mention the whole wonder and vibe that Elden Ring gives you is that there are stronger beings in the world than you. So there's some, mysterious, scary, atmosphere that goes on, and going into the game knowing that, well, you are. What's scary, makes the story into a fucking carnival. Lastly, in a new game, the difficulty curve and how it's implemented as it slowly increases alongside the player's power is nothing short of probably one of the best executed scaling I've seen in a video game. And that's kind of left carte blanche in NG+. There's not a guidebook to say, well, the player has to decide now what level they should be capped at, depending on what NG Plus they're at. Or if you're truly mad, I guess you can just level to the max level of 713. The point is that the game's difficulty in NG Plus, specifically the first one, is completely non-existent. And again, I'm not referring to NG Plus 4 and beyond, but again, you need to get there, right? And for maybe the average gamer that doesn't have the fucking time to do that, it's not a possibility, or it's not even an option for them. Now, I personally just didn't feel the need or want to get to that cap, to get to those higher difficulties. What I wanted to do was to recreate a similar experience that I had when I first played the game. And I know nothing can ever match your first experience, but the new save is the closest you're going to get. So if you're looking to mimic that experience, go with a new save. Like, difficulty has always been present in these games, and as much as I like to one or two shot bosses, you just don't get the same rush from beating a boss that's pounded you over and over and over again. And I mean, hey, if you're one of those people where you want to really test your metal and maybe test the viability of your build, then future NG caps again may be for you. At the end of the day, what I'm saying is play whichever you prefer. Fuck, play both. I mean, I that's what I did. But if I had to, make my recommendation, I definitely, and you're going to play Elden Ring again, I definitely would recommend a completely new save. It just brings the game for what it is. It makes you explore. The progression system is better. The difficulty curve is more thought out because it's what the developers have chosen, not us. So all that and more that I listed is why, well, you would enjoy a new game. So hopefully that answered some questions, because I personally had a question of where I would want to play and what would be fun, what's the actual vibe of each run. So hopefully that provided some clarity. If not, well, you wasted your time. But yeah, let me know what you think in the comments below. What game mode do you prefer? Do you prefer NG+? Do you prefer a brand new save? Is this conversation completely fucking pointless? Leave it in the comments. Thanks very much. Later, jack-offs.